Good morning. Today on Spotlight, our topic, working across international, state, and local borders to get things done in the private and public sectors for the greater good of our society. With new leadership taking place practically everywhere, how does that happen? We'll ask someone used to this territory. Rogelio Landin, president of Performance Ed and a longtime proponent of U.S.-Mexico trade. And later, we'll go downtown to talk to the husband and wife leadership team of Detroit's Trinity Film Festival. It's Sunday, January the 6th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. And welcome to Spotlight as we begin a new year. 2019 is indeed here, and kicking it off, we'll be talking about a wide range of topics. And Rogelio, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Chuck, for
today.
the honor to be here with you.
Let's start with an international topic. You have for years dealt with trade, automotive industry, dealing between Mexico and the United States. Have you ever seen a time where our relationship with that country is more sensitive than it is now?
Not really, because right now at the moment you have a convergence of both the international trade going on with, in that negotiation with the U.S. and the renegotiation of NAFTA, at the same time that we have immigration issues at a fever pitch in terms of where we're at.
Right, we got past NAFTA, but now we've got the wall, which was throughout the campaign, throughout the beginning of President Trump's administration, is still a key part, has actually forced a government shutdown in the U.S., and as you said, immigration, which is ongoing.
It is, and I go back when I was involved with the League of United Latin American Citizens as state director. We were very involved with the Simpson-Mazzoli immigration bill back in the 80s. And at that time, I think they had a pretty comprehensive law put together, but it lacked the commitment to resource and fund the enforcement part of it. A lot of those things were never actualized, and there's still room to work with what we've got. The other is, the wall, I think, is largely symbolic, and in a time when there are so many other ways around which have been proven that it really just serves that purpose of being symbolic. I
remember doing an interview with the former president of Mexico last year, and he made it very clear in the interview that Mexico will not pay for that wall. For quite a bit of time during the campaign, that was the mantra from President Trump: Mexico will pay for this wall. And then early on he did that. As of late, he's not been talking about Mexico paying for the wall. Now they're fighting over how much the U.S. will pay for that wall. What changed that dialogue?
Well, it was very presumptive of then candidate and then President-elect Trump to presume to incur any kind of a responsibility or debt for his own policy initiative, which was the wall, when Mexico is in fact a sovereign country. It was very presumptuous and I think ill-advised in terms of his approach. He finds himself now backtracking and putting on the backs of his very own supporters the cost for what was his campaign promise.
Do you think Mexico will ever pay for that wall?
No.
You know Mexicans?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't see any scenario where that happens.
There are many, many business people throughout the United States, Michigan, and particularly our own backyard here in the Detroit metro area, because of the automotive industry. They do a lot of business with Mexico. You have local organizations working hard on that. What impact do you think they'll have during these very difficult times in trying to just do day-to-day business outside the political realm?
I think there's an incredible opportunity here for anyone and everyone who wants to continue to do business with Mexico. Number one, Mexico is now Michigan's largest trading partner. Number two, Mexico has the largest number of free trade agreements of any country in the world with other countries. It is literally a gateway to free trade, for global free trade. Mexico is the linchpin between North and South America and is a member of all of your trading blocs in South America. These agreements with Canada and Mexico are not just about North America anymore. It's a hemispheric agreement with global overreach and outreach in terms of the other countries who use Mexico as a staging area to also do business here in the country.
All right, I'm going to transition you to a very different topic. That's education. You have a company called Performance Ed. What is Performance Ed?
It came about through a project called the Ohio Project, which was run out of the Institute for Urban Ed at Central State University in Ohio. Long story short, after a couple-of-year demonstration project, it was built around the idea of young African American males at risk, getting them through 1 year of algebra in the 9th grade, which assured to statistically 70% chance of graduating. I believe it contributed in large part to what came to be known as My Brother's Keeper at the national level,
right.
What came to be known as Connect Ed, which was the digital portion of that and the technology portion of education, and all of the other initiatives that followed subsequent to that.
So it's been a catalyst for many things. We're going to take a break. When we come back, that sets the stage very much for talking about some big picture issues: infrastructure, education, and jobs in divided government. And we'll get your opinion on that. We'll be right back. Don't go away. And welcome back to Spotlight. The new governor of the state of Michigan talked about the other day, from Michigan to Washington, we have divided government. How do we deal with these big topics of infrastructure, education, and job creation in a divided government? Will it work? Can it work?
Yes. And it has in the past. I think the initial engagements have already demonstrated that there is agreement on the issues. Okay. That was just released this morning from the Bridge Center for Michigan, and they essentially established that Republicans and Democrats agree on the issues. And again, the challenge always comes in agreeing on how to address them.
Right. How do you implement
right.
these
how do you
things?
implement?
We can agree on the big topics that aren't partisan, but then when you start trying to divvy up the money,
it's all about funding.
Then it gets there.
And this is where I believe I've got a couple of things to bring to suggest that are worthy of exploring. Number one, on the issue of education, what Performance Ed has done is over the years developed a resource equity solution for schools. And there isn't going to be time to get into the particulars of that, but in a cry for equity, when we're paralyzed by our politics, we're in mediocrity, we're in settling for adequacy in an environment that requires excellence. So, you know, how do you address all of that? And I've dedicated better part of a decade in coming up with a solution that does that using existing resources and no new money.
Sure.
And I think that should be appealing to everyone.
And you think that's the key, is no new money, that take the money that is currently in Washington, money that currently is in Lansing, and make it work.
Yeah, you hear efficiency and effectiveness throughout every report you've read over the last few years in terms of resource allocation and better use of existing resources. That said, regarding the infrastructure issues of the roads and the water and the facilities aspects of all of these, I think there is an overlooked opportunity in the single word, annexation. It's time that be revisited in terms of what that can do in pooling resources. As communities suggest they're open to consolidations, as we have two regional authorities that have proven that working together on a regional basis can work, the Convention Center and the Water Board, as models. When you look at other states at things that work, well, we have a charter commission right now that's getting ready to go to work for Detroit. I would suggest they look at Charlotte-Mecklenburg as a model for annexation, which is built into their city charter.
You're in some respects talking about, in some areas, perhaps metro type of governments, which in a state in which locality and local government has been a hallmark. It's going to be very difficult to make those political changes. Indeed, it's been done in different areas of the country, but it certainly hasn't been done in Michigan.
There's something
and little cities will fight you just as much as the big cities.
But here's the thing, Chuck. There are 190 communities in Michigan that are in economic distress, something that they all have in common, and none of them have a solution for. You just did a series on Grand Rapids. The two things that emanated from everyone you talked to just about were funds and talent in terms of what came about. How do we do that? Grand Rapids, for all of its growth and booming economy and prosperity and projections, has the same problems that Detroit does. We spoke about One Michigan, or you did, with Grand Rapids.
Right. And the leaders there did.
The leaders did, about a One Michigan. So my sense of that, my read is that there is a willingness to look at things in a cohesive, collective, collaborative manner that maybe in the past people weren't so ready to consider. But again, with no appetite for taxes, new taxes.
And that's where leadership comes in.
Exactly.
And new thinking. Final quick question. The people by their vote clearly said, from Washington to Lansing and other localities, we want Democrats and Republicans and independents to work together. We want a balance of power, and they're charging us to do so. What role does the public and perhaps the business community play in putting that pressure and keeping that pressure on the legislators so that they realize, okay, we've got to work together, and we can't go back to some of those political games we've been playing for years?
You can't go back to the kind of attitudes that we've had in the past. The acknowledgement and the recognition that it was their activeness or their activism, both business and citizens, that brought about this divided government that collectively should provide, and I believe will ultimately provide, balance in governance that will tip the scales from this being lopsided back to something in the center that works in the best interest of the most people for the greater good.
All right. Rogelio Landin, thank you so much for coming in. We'll get you back and update us on how we're doing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Look forward to it, Chuck.
All right, our pleasure. And coming up, we'll go downtown and we'll turn our attention to the Trinity Film Fest. We hope you stay with us. And welcome back to Spotlight. We're down here at the Cube, our home away from home. And joining me now is Marshall Montgomery Favors. For the person that's not familiar with the Trinity Film Festival, give us a little history. How long has it been going on? How did it get started?
Oh, sure. Well, the Trinity International Film Festival is it's 13 years next year in the making, and it was started by...
You started it, kind of?
Yes, it was myself and two other filmmakers, and that's where the Trinity kind of comes from, because there was 3 filmmakers from Detroit that started the festival, and it really started because we were traveling to other film festivals around the world, and we thought, you know, why not create this type of opportunity
right here in our hometown?
That's right, right here in our own town.
Has it been on a long, tough journey?
I think it's been kind of a passion, a journey that's really been about, from the beginning, just trying to figure out a way to support filmmakers, you know, from the Metro Detroit area. And it's been a great journey. It's been a lot of learning lessons along the way, but the highlight has really been able to like showcase these great talent that we have, you know, in our city. But it's an international festival as well, so we get submissions from around the world, but it really gives us a chance also to show the talent we have here.
Is the mission, or is the concentration on African Americans doing film?
Well, the entire festival is an international festival, so it's really about connecting artists with audiences from around the world. But we do have a new initiative called the Fearless Tribe of Fanatic Filmmakers, which is a 2-year initiative to support African American filmmakers from Detroit. And we received a Knights Arts Challenge grant in order to do this work for the next 2 years.
Great. How much did you get from them?
It was a $25,000 matching grant, because we get about 400 submissions a year.
That's a lot.
And it's a task. And so we screen about 60 films in a year. And we may get, last year we had 64 films from 17 different countries. And throughout our whole years that we've had the festival, we've had submissions from about 63 countries. The festival happens once a year, but we support filmmakers all year round.
Very good, just to encourage this craft.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Short films, long films, or do you get a real mix?
It's a mix of short films and feature-length films that we screen throughout the festival. And we also have panels and workshops as well, too, to really support filmmakers as entrepreneurial artists as well.
Okay. Are they starting to see Detroit as a real film making area, unlike some of the better known ones that perhaps have been around for decades and decades?
I think you mentioned earlier that, what's the big picture? And our big picture is to highlight the film community that we have here, and to make this festival a signature event in Detroit, just like any of the other huge signature events that happen throughout our city in a major way.
All right. Best of luck to what you're trying to do. We're going to get your husband in here in just a second, right after this break, and he could talk about some of the collaborations that you are involved in, and some kind of breaking news that you've had not too long ago that perhaps is going to take the Trinity Film Fest to the next level.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with Lazar Favors right after this. Stay with us. Welcome back to Spotlight. Joining me now is Lazar Favors. He is the other half, so to speak, of the Trinity International Film Festival, one of the co-directors. And welcome to Spotlight.
Hey, Chuck, how you doing, man?
Good, glad to have you. Yeah. So has this been a labor of love in perhaps more ways than others?
Absolutely.
Since your husband and wife team?
It's a great thing. It's a great feeling to be able to work with somebody that has the same passion, same drive, and wants to see the same things happen. So
right.
It's been simple. She's the boss. But
well, you know what? The fact that you can admit that,
yes, I can.
You're going to have a long, long marriage and a very good marriage.
Well, thank you.
It's the guys who can't admit that
right.
They end up in trouble.
You have to say it sometimes.
Right. What's your hope and aspiration for the Trinity Film Festival?
Well, I see Trinity as again, like my wife says, it's a staple. We want it to be something larger than any other event, any other staple event in the state of Michigan. Actually, we have dedicated ourselves to making these things happen. We started a partnership and a collaboration with the Imagine Theaters when they come here in 2020. We established that October 25th of this year. They announced it, and we're looking forward to building that relationship and also bringing our filmmakers to that establishment.
Yeah. What's the most difficult part of this? Because you got film festivals all over the world, and certainly you have, the Cannes Film Festival and others which have been around for eons. Is this a really crowded field where it's hard to make your mark, or not so? It's
over 300 plus festivals going on throughout the year, every year. It's a little bit difficult, but I think we found what separates us is the platform we provide. We provide a different set of platforms. I believe that we focus more on the filmmaker.
Okay.
We focus more on the filmmaker and their films.
To help them develop their skills?
Less on our festival, more on them, help them develop them skills, get the information they need, get the knowledge, network with the people they need to network with.
Is this a field that's opening up a lot more for filmmakers of color?
Yes, it is. If you look what happened since Panther, that opens a door, a huge door for independent filmmakers who are of color to step in that and then spotlight themselves. And
because years ago, you think about Spike Lee when he first broke into it, all the attention he got.
Yes.
But there have been several others since then.
Yes, I mean, Ava DuVernay, who's an amazing director, filmmaker, woman. Ryan Coogler, like I said, Ryan Coogler, who just did Creed 2, just came out last week. So it's a lot. I think we have a lot of potential to be great. You know, we follow Hollywood right now and New York right now. So
has the medium, the spectrum, that opening up helped an awful lot, whether it's cable or it's Netflix or it's a lot of these other channels beyond the traditional ABC, CBS, NBC?
Yes, actually, we just launched the Fearless Tribe of Fanatic Filmmakers on Detroit's cable channels 21 and 22, which airs Wednesdays and Fridays at 9 p.m. So it opened that door for another platform for us to showcase and highlight these filmmakers, independent filmmakers of color.
Of color. You just recently got together a collaboration.
Yes, indeed.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this gentleman I met several years ago. His name is Everett Finley. He is a global, international global strategist, brand strategist.
So what is it you hope he's able to do with Trinity to take you to that next level?
Well, what I'm sure that he's capable of doing is we can literally take our artists and our filmmakers and have them on a stage and a screen somewhere in New York at the Soho House, anywhere across the world because of his involvement in the city of Detroit. Now he is actually seating himself in Detroit. He's becoming a resident also of Detroit, just to further do that work and further assist in that work as far as in the African American community. His strong belief is in applying or his works and his efforts into young black males to uplift their thinking, to change their way of thinking about themselves and about what they can do to change the dynamics.
All right. If people want to get more information about Trinity Film Festival, there's a website or information that they can go to?
We're on Facebook, Trinity International Film Festival. Marshall Montgomery Favors, Lazar Favors. We're on Instagram. We are on Maker.City app. We are everywhere. Pretty much everywhere. Anything to do with social media.
All right, very good. Well, you know what? Young people know how to find it without any difficulty whatsoever.
Thank you, Chuck.
Lazar Favors, thanks so much. Best of luck to you and your wife and with the Trinity Film Festival.
Thank you.
And we'll check in with you maybe next August when it's time to actually have the festival itself.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this week. Special thanks to all of my guests. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week.